How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am out today scouting out a piece of property that I just recently got permission to hunt. Kind of a funny story to how I got permission to hunt it. I had done some carpentry work last summer for the landowners, and I had mentioned to them last summer that Chuck and I were going to be going to Ohio for a couple weeks. And when the landowner asked me why we were going to Ohio, I told her deer hunting, and she kind of scoffed. And she was like, "Run, Bambi, run." So I kind of got the feeling she was a little anti-hunting. But funny story is that I came back this spring and was doing some work for them, and she asked me if I turkey hunted. And I said, yeah. And she's like, "Well, you want to come up here and kill all these turkeys for me?" So I told her I can't kill all of them, but I have one more tag to fill, and I could bring my wife and a couple of buddies up and see if they can get anything, but which we never ended up shooting any turkeys off this property. They're all over the place up here, along with the deer. And I was up here doing some work one day, and she asked how my wife and I had done turkey hunting, and she said, "If you guys want to come back up in the fall for deer, feel free." So that was awesome, because this is an awesome property. I'm literally 50 yards from the truck right now, and just kind of headed down over into this valley. There's a brook run that goes along the edge of their property and actually runs out of a swampy pond up at the north end of their property. And I'm not sure how many acres they own here, but it's quite a few. And like I said, I'm 50 yards from the truck, kind of in this overgrown CRP field area, and there's an apple tree right here, and the grass is beaten down underneath it. All through this is just matted down from the deer coming through here. It actually kind of looks like they've been bedding underneath this tree. But I am, like I said, going to head down into this valley and then follow the brook upstream north. And there's a couple spots of map scouting that I picked out, a couple high ridges that kind of go down into this swampy area where that pond is up there. And it's quite a walk. I was up here kind of scouting around this spring after turkey season, and I found some seriously beaten trails. But I didn't really get too in-depth with scouting. This apple tree is covered. So today I'm going to try to get a little more in-depth with my scouting, and it's supposed to be about 90 degrees today, so it's about 11 o'clock right now, so it's getting pretty warm. But I'm going to make my way down in here and see what we see. Well, I just got down here kind of in the bottom of the valley where it flattens out. And I don't know if you guys can really tell, but I'm just in the middle of a wet, dark cedar swamp down there. There's a lot of cedar trees, a lot of hemlocks. And I'm pretty sure the brook is not too far ahead of me. So I'm going to try to make my way out to the brook. Hopefully it opens up a little bit. I'm going to try to take the path of least resistance up through here. There's definitely some deer sign down in here. It just looks like no real set beat trails, but just everywhere. It looks like the deer have just been all through here. So hopefully we find some good sign. I don't know if you guys can really tell, but out in front of me there, it gets pretty thick towards the brook. So I don't know if I want to walk out through that stuff. I'm pretty sure the brook is right out in front of me. But I might just kind of stay on the edge of this thick stuff and try to stay in the open. Well, I finally made it down to the water here. Been seeing deer sign, a lot of buck turds all the way down through here. I've only gone probably a few hundred yards. About 50 yards out in front of me is some swampy part of the brook. And right here, I don't know if you guys can, I'm sure you probably can see that. There's a beaten trail going out here into the swamp. And it looks like it follows right up along the edge of it, kind of heads towards the brook, and cuts up here into this thick stuff. Pretty heavily used, and this is the type of stuff a buck would be going through right here. And if I can get on it, that little tree right there has been all rubbed up. And there's an old rub right there also. This is definitely buck territory down in here. Look at this trail going through here. Nasty. Just walked about another 30 yards through this little trail, and that right there is a buck bed, and I am right in the middle of this nasty little patch. Trail keeps on going out this way, and the brook is right there. I think I'm going to mark this on Onyx and keep following this trail up through here. I'm still just following this edge. The brook's still about 50 yards to my left, and I'm kind of just right on the edge of where it turns thick and goes back into open woods off here to my right. Not real open, but more open. And I'm still, I don't know if you guys can kind of tell, there is a trail going right here that I've been following. And there is a ton of sign down in here. I cannot wait to get down here and hunt. This is like completely untouched. I think I'm probably the first person to get permission down here for a long time. So these deer have not been messed with at all. There's a ton of turkeys. Looks like I'm actually headed up onto a little knob right up here, so this might be a good spot to find some beds. Bunch of deer fur. Looks like something probably got killed right here at some point. Just kind of coming up on the edge of the swamp where the pond is kind of up in there. As you can see, it's pretty thick. Hillside goes up to a field over there, which I'm going to kind of keep heading north. Then I'm going to swing up around, and when I come back, I'm going to come along next to the field and probably put a camera on the field. And there's a certain spot out here where there's a high point on the edge of this swamp where I really wanted to check it out. It looked like a good spot for deer to hang out. Oop, there goes one right there. Just caught a flash of one taking off. I figured they might be down in here on a hot day like this, down next to the brook in the shade. I just walked about another 50, 60 yards from where I saw that deer, and I'm actually in the spot where I saw that deer. As you guys can see, the hillside kind of drops right down into the swamp out here. And it's kind of an open little part of a hemlock grove. I don't know if you guys can really make it out, but there is a beaten trail right here going right along the edge of this hill where it drops down, then you get this big flat. And the spot I wanted to check out is just a little ways up here. I don't know if you can tell, there's a little bit of a knoll right there. But just past that, it shows kind of a point sticking out, high point, out on the edge of the swamp. I really wanted to get out there and check that out, so that's where we're headed. Well, I was just standing on the other side of this little knoll when I jumped that deer the second time, and she or he, whatever it was, ran up that way. But over here, this high ridge right here, that's that point that I kind of was checking it out on the map. I don't know if you guys can really tell, but the deer have been crossing this little runoff right here pretty heavily. There's a coyote track right there. Bunch of deer tracks. Looks like they've been reined in a few times. This is looking pretty nice out here, though. It kind of transitions from all these dark hemlocks in that cedar swamp. It goes right into all these hardwoods. I don't know if you guys can really see it, but there's a pretty well-used trail right here. I'm definitely going to have to come back and do at least one sit out here and see what I see this fall. I want to get out onto this little ridge, though. Yep. Old scrape right underneath this little pine tree. This is kind of what stood out on the map. There's a bed right there. Another bed right there. Another bed right there. That's kind of what I figured. You got this big high spot surrounded on three sides by thick swamp. And that way right there where I just came from is pretty much the way back into the open woods. Yeah, they've just been bedding everywhere up here. Crazy. Pile of turds. As you can see, it just drops right off the back side out here. I think right at the beginning of this out here where it opens back up into the woods would be a good spot for a morning or evening sit if they're out here bedded on this high spot. It'd definitely be a good way to catch them coming in or out, either in the morning or the evening. But I'm going to keep kind of heading north a little bit until I get sick of it, and then I'm going to, like I said, swing back up onto the hillside and check the field out. Well, I just got on Onyx to mark all those beds on that little high point and realized that that's not even the point that I was looking at when I was map scouting. It's actually just before that. The point that I was looking at is actually up here in front of me. And it's even higher up than that was, so I'm going to get up here and check this out. Hopefully it looks the same. Hopefully there's beds all over the place up here too. A ton of sign out here. It's crazy. Just, I don't even know if you guys can see that. The ground's all tore up. Just like everywhere I go, there's deer tracks and deer droppings. Yeah, this looks nice up here. This looks like a bedding area. I just heard something running towards me. I have no idea what direction it was coming from. I don't know if it was over there or over here. Well, I don't know what that was. I heard something sounded like a deer running. I couldn't tell which direction it was coming from, and I don't know if it was running at me or away from me or what, but yeah, I'm gonna keep on going, checking stuff out. Whew, it is hot and humid. I am on the edge of the property line now. On the eastern side. I was down on the brook is on the western side of the property. I went up pretty much up to the edge of that swamp and made my way up to the eastern edge. As you can tell, the neighbor's property has been logged a few years back, so it's all grown up with ferns and raspberry bushes. Down here is the property I have permission on. So what I'm going to do is kind of just follow the edge of this cutting back towards the field. Where I was up here before, I saw a couple good beaten trails coming off this cut property onto the property I have permission on. So I might, if I find a good enough beaten trail, I might actually put a camera on that and then put one up in the edge of the field somewhere. Well, I just literally was just standing up there talking about finding a beaten trail. I come over here, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a beaten trail coming off the neighbor's property, going right through here. And I think I'm actually going to stick a camera right here somewhere, because this looks like it's been pretty heavily used. And right down in there is where I just jumped that deer. And I went up that way, kind of swung up around and came up onto this knoll. And when I jumped that deer down in there, it kind of ran off that way back towards the field. So I think I'm probably going to drop a camera right here, and there's another beaten trail coming across right here. And then this one comes down right here. Looks like they kind of intersect each other, so kind of almost wishing I had brought more cameras with me so I could put a few of them out here, but I think I'm going to stick one right here and see what we get. Alright, got a camera set there. Got one trail, like I said, coming across the bottom of the hillside here. And another one coming down right here. So, should be a good spot to get something. I am going to kind of head back towards the south, right along this edge. See what else we see for sign. Well, I made it back up to the corner of the field. I just came up this old skid road back here. As you can see, this is the property line right here. It goes right along the back edge of the field. I don't think you guys can quite see it, but the landowner's house is right out there. Probably 400 or 500 yards across the field. I think what I'm going to do is walk this northern edge. This field kind of, from the east side to the west, it kind of goes downhill, and on the west side is where that brook run is. So I think I'm going to follow down the back side of the field and just try to find a good spot where the deer have been coming in and out a lot. Shouldn't be too hard to do because they haven't mowed this field, so the grass is pretty high. Should be able to tell where they're coming in and out. I got down here to the bottom southwest corner of the field up there. That corner is where I just was, where the old skid road come out. There's this big pine tree right here, and just behind it back there in that hole there's a break in the stone wall. I got this one random tree sitting here in the bottom corner of the field. I think I'm actually just going to put a camera on this tree, kind of looking back up this way. It looks like the deer have been coming out of there quite a bit and walking right through here. Maybe just a bunch of does, but after I put this camera up on this tree, I think I'm actually going to go back up to that corner and walk along the back edge, back out to the house and back out to my truck, just to see if there's any good trails coming in and out of the field up there. And if there are, I won't be able to put a camera on them, but I can at least mark them on onX. But I'm going to get a camera on this tree and let her soak for a few. Alright, that camera's all set up. Kind of got it looking up across the field that way, which is where I'm going to head. Like I said, I'm going to walk down that back edge and just see if there's any heavily used trails coming in and out of the field. Just kind of up in the back corner of the field here, and looks like we got a big kind of a dust bowl for turkeys, but pretty nice set of doe tracks coming through here. Couple sets by the looks of it. Making my way back across the field here. There's a few more dirt spots. It looks like the turkeys have been rolling around. And that's kind of what I'm looking for right there. This stone wall coming, there's a big gap right here. Doesn't look like a ton of traffic's been going through it, but definitely a spot to mark on onX. Anyone that has been watching the channel for any amount of time probably knows that I love to hunt breaks in stone walls. Deer will always take the, well, not always, but if they have the choice, they'll take the easiest path of least resistance, you know. So when you've got a stone wall with a break in it, they're probably going to use it to cross the stone wall rather than jumping or crawling over the stone wall. I'm going to mark this little opening on onX and continue on down the edge of this field. Good tree to sit in right there in that maple. Well, I just made it back to the truck. I think I jumped another deer. I was marking another break in the stone wall on the back side of that field, and just as I was standing there doing that, I heard another deer take off up in the woods. I think I could hear a stick snap. I never did see what it was, but it definitely sounded like a deer taking off. But I am pretty pumped. Plenty of deer sign out there. Saw one big-bodied deer. I think it was just a big doe by herself, but a come back in a couple weeks and check these cameras, and I actually kind of want to bring Chuck with me and introduce him to the landowner so he can either come out here and hunt with me or even come back without me and be able to hunt. But I did 1.75 miles in an hour and 20 minutes. I'll save that. Yeah, I'm going to come back out in a couple weeks, like I said, check these cameras. It is hot as heck right now, about 90 degrees and humid, so I am going to get out of here. But figured I'd give you guys kind of an idea of how I go about scouting a new property. If it wasn't so hot out, I'd probably spend more time out there looking around, but like I said, I kind of wish I'd brought more cameras with me, because I couldn't really make up my mind which one of those beaten trails I wanted to put one on, but I think they're in pretty good spots. I got one in the back corner of the field, and I've got one way out behind it. So, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.